I left for GA, I had to put down my little dog. 13, she was with me 13 years. It was a rotten day. I also closed on my house, which was a pretty amazing day, but it was still all tempered with yuck, you know? And the next day, I flew out to Portland, Oregon, which is where General Assembly was held last year. And I got there a little bit early because flying just exhausts me like it never used to. Like now, anytime I get on a plane, I have to like take a day at either end just to sleep and figure out which way is up. So that Saturday evening, some friends from back in Maine who were at GA knew that I'd had a really rotten time, and they took me out to dinner at this lovely restaurant. They were very, very sweet. The next day was Sunday, and I was just hanging out in the hotel lobby, and this person calls out to me by my old name, my dead name, and I didn't recognize them because everybody's wearing a mask. And they pulled down their face and said, "It's Susan Frederick Gray." I'm like, "Oh, okay, hi." And so I told her that I'm using DC now and he, him, and she never got it wrong all week, not once. And she took me out for dinner that night with a couple other people, and it was wonderful. And then on Tuesday of that week, I got a call from my friends who had taken me out to dinner on Saturday saying, "We've just tested positive for COVID." I thought, oh dear God, if I have infected the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, oh dear. Turns out she was fine, I was fine, but boy, howdy, it was a scary few days. Yeah, I was like, this is not how I want my legacy to be one day, dear goodness. So it's safe. It's been a year now. I can tell that story and feel a little bit relaxed about it. So we are on the cusp of summer solstice, and summer solstice with winter solstice with its counterpart are just like my favorite times of the year for reflection and consideration and to look back and look ahead. And it's been a year now since I got here, you know? It's been a year since I bought my house, started the renovation project that was bigger than I expected. It's been a year since I truly began to understand the concept of the yard sale. In this year, we've spent some time getting to know each other. We've learned a little bit about how we all like to function and how we do worship and music and religious education. We spent some time learning about the Bible through a heretic's lens. We contemplated the holy mathematics of geodesic objects, and we learned about the priorities of this congregation. Through our exercise using the geodesic sphere and the triangles and the trim tabs, we learned that the number one concern of this congregation is climate change. And a close second is a sort of generalized category of inequality that includes permutations in race and sex and gender and ability and privilege and economics. We also gained clarity that the first step toward making progress in any direction would involve education and outreach, including raising our own profile in the Susquehanna Valley. We've worked to make the congregation a safer place and done some things to better prepare us for an emergency. We'll do more on that this fall, I expect. And we have watched the emergence of LGBTQ pride celebrations in many parts of rural Pennsylvania, and we showed up at as many of them as we could. You've heard me preach once or twice about the proposed changes to Article 2 of our UUA bylaws, which may seem weird and obscure, but will truly set the direction and tone of our denomination for a generation. And there are so many things happening, which is sort of how church works, you know? I don't know a minister who doesn't report on occasionally feeling like a circus performer trying to keep all the plates spinning at the top of the sticks at the same time. It's part of what we do. It feels like I arrived here at just the right time for us to do great things together. This congregation is remarkable in its dedication to expanding its reach and profile in the community it serves, while many of our sibling congregations are tightening belts and cutting programs. With the clarity of priorities from that trim tab exercise, it has allowed us to focus more precisely on things that we can do to support our commitment to addressing climate change using an array of trim tab size measures to make progress. I'm sure you know that last fall the UUCSV received a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Safety or something safety that provides us money to upgrade our security system here at church. And we got that in part because of our progressive stand on a variety of issues in that it makes us kind of a target for people to be jerks, right? And so there was money available for organizations that would be targeted, and we got some of that money. Now that money will go in part to put a new camera on our roadside sign pointed at the front of the building, because we've got some that are pointing out, but we don't have any pointing at the building, for capture images of anyone intending mischief. There also is money for cameras and motion sensor lights on like the far end and this end and on along the back as well. I didn't hear you. Oh, it's Molly was interrupting? If you're going to get upstaged, I suppose that's the way to do it. W.C. Fields once said, never work with children or animals. Thanks, Molly. So anyway, we've got that grant to help upgrade our safety stuff. And so one of the things in the course of that conversation, we said we don't actually have any wires out to the sign. Because you need wires to support a camera, because cameras and technology has evolved enormously, but solar-powered cameras are still not as sturdy and durable as would be great. So we're going to need to run some wires out there. So if we run wires out there, maybe we could light our sign. And then we thought, well, have you looked at the sign? It has served us well, but the miles are showing. It's cracked and faded, and it's limited in what it can offer for a message. To change the message on our sign, somebody has to come in here and count out the letters, make sure we have enough letters to say the thing we want, and then go out there in all kinds of weather and stand on a little platform while traffic whizzes by, trying to arrange the letters and make sure they don't get in backwards. So it's not ideal. So what would happen if we got an electronic sign, right? Like, I live in Selinsgrove, and the Moose, I don't know, is it a fraternal organization, I guess? Has Moose Lodge, right? Has this fabulous electronic sign that, you know, spaghetti dinner this night and park something that night. And well, so we did some research, like what does one of those cost? And that caused us to stop for a minute and take a breath, because those things are not cheap. But we did some research into, remember those friends who took me out for dinner because my dog had died? Well, one of them is one of the senior administrators at the hang on, it's got a name. The UU funding program, right, which manages an endowment and offers grant money every year in 3 different categories, and there's a different schedule. Anyway, so I called that friend and said, hey, have you got any money available if we wanted to get a sign? She said, yeah, here's the grant process, and my eyes just crossed. But together, Sarah and I, which means Sarah, did the writing. And And we applied for the grant, and Thursday I got a call from that friend saying, congratulations, we've awarded you $9,000 in cash and an additional $2,500 matching grant. So if we raise $2,500, we get another $2,500 check, which brings us to $12,000, $14,000, really? Yes, 5 and 9, yes. I think my brain got a little cooked in the sun yesterday at Pride. So $14,000. So we take that, and we're well on our way to making this great sign happen. So then, as we were thinking about all of those trim tab ideas for climate change, electric vehicles is on that list. Now, not everybody can afford an electric vehicle, but what if we were to have a charging station? Like, what if we were to have a place to let people charge their cars during church? Okay, that's a thought. There's certainly grant money for charging stations. They're trying to promote those all over the place. Okay, so while we're digging a hole to run the wire out to the sign that's going to be there, we might as well just run another line. Well, we got the digger, right? Run a sign in dead end for preparation for car charging stations. And another thing we looked at, and this is why I said it feels like we got together at just the time when there's a tipping point, you know? Because the other thing about this place is it's got a fabulous roof. It's got a fabulous roof that faces south with acres of footage up there for solar panels. If we do it right, and there's grant money available for nonprofits who want to switch to solar power, there are ways to wiggle it, and I won't go into the weeds on them now, but it's entirely possible we could make it work so that paying for the solar panels is no more expensive than our regular electric bill, and it would power the charging stations, and it's all like grant success begets grant success begets grant success, right? The fact that we got the safety grant helped our case when we were applying for this $14,000 grant, which will help when we apply for a chalice lighter grant to finish up the rest of the project. Okay? Like, it feels like we're at this tipping point where y'all have been slogging along for a long time. And we came together at just the right time to take advantage of this energy. And it's really exciting. There's a lot of, when it comes to green energy, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there for nonprofits like us. And that's exciting. See, now I got excited and I went all ahead of myself. Right. Now, much of this is still in the form of, sugar plums dancing in my head, but it feels like we're at sort of a crossroads, a place where we're making progress and perhaps even picking up speed on the downhill side, We have intention, we have emotion, we have energy, we have a moral calling to reduce our carbon footprint and to promote green energy and other things to save our planet. Imagine how we might be able to increase our profile with a new sign, which we learned in the process of the grant that there are 13,000 cars that go by here on your average Tuesday. Okay. I learned also that they only do the counting on Tuesdays. And there's a reason, but I forget why. But like weekends are clearly weird, right? But Tuesday is like the day that they count cars. So we have 13,000 cars going by here. If we can put signs out there, a sign out there that changes, and have signs that say, Trans lives matter. Black lives matter. Think about the planet. We support equality. There's so many things. Also, you can program it from your phone, which means nobody has to go out there and stand on a wobbly little bench thing and try and arrange letters and hope that we have enough letters. Also, punctuation's an issue. So imagine how we might be able to increase our profile. Imagine, like right now, yesterday at Pride, one of the things we heard a lot was, oh, you're the ones that do the yard sale. Yes, we are the ones that do the yard sale, and we'd love you to come to the yard sale and spend all your money. Yes, but we are so much more than the yard sale. I'd like us to be the church with the solar panels and the car charging place that also has a yard sale. I'd like us to be the church that shows up at all of the justice things, but also has a yard sale. You know? I mean, which do you think better represents who we are? The church with the yard sale that we're not sure what they do? Or the church that does all this stuff and also has a cool yard sale? Solstice is a time when the earth pauses. It's this magnificent pause. It's the celestial sort of breather. It's that moment when you're on a swing and it reaches the very tippy top and you sort of hang there for a moment before you start back down. It's not a bad metaphor for how we live or how we do church. Everything is in cycles. The trick is to recognize where we are in that cycle so that we can take advantage of potential and kinetic energy and to have reasonable expectations of what we might accomplish. It's been a really good year. We've learned a lot. We've explored a bunch. We're figuring out how to be in relationship with one another. I've tried hard not to make too many changes in the first year because that can be jarring. But the changes that have come seem to have been organic in their development. And I'm looking forward to the coming year. And so now I want to invite you to join me and take a breath as we approach the height of our solar calendar. After this week, the days will begin to shorten. We are at the tipping point. Let's breathe together in this liminal space. Get comfortable, feet on the floor if that's what you need to do. Sit up. Remember, your spine goes straight, right? And breathe in with me. Breathe in and out. Again, breathe in and out. One more time. Breathe in and out. And now, our energies and hearts attuned to the presence of one another, let us venture forth together in community. Amen.